welcome to the podcast. Today is a really exciting topic for me. We're going to be discussing the power of the subconscious mind. Now, this is something that I'm all about. I'm fascinated in how we are pushed and pulled by our unconscious thoughts, our feelings, and how that determines our destiny ultimately. And so I thought it'd be amazing to get somebody on the podcast who has very in-depth experience with the subconscious mind. So today I'm speaking with Mia Kercher. Mia is a hypnotist as well as a copywriter. And if you understand the subconscious mind, then you'll understand why those two things go really well together. And we'll get into more of that in a moment. But welcome, Mia, to the podcast. It's so good to speak with you. And I'm really excited to learn more about the power of the subconscious and how we can harness it in order to achieve what we want to achieve in life without it feeling like a constant battle.
Yes, thank you. I'm excited to be here. I love the subconscious mind as well. I always say that we typically use about 90% of our subconscious mind throughout the day, even though we think we're so aware and we think we're doing all this, but really only about 10% is the conscious mind, what we think we're using. And it's like everything else is just beliefs and habits and patterns and neurons firing in the same place that they always fire. And that's all happening behind the scenes. But one of my favorite things to do is to try to break down that wall and access the subconscious mind for as many things as possible. So that's in life and it's in marketing as well, which I'm sure we'll jump into.
Yeah, it's crazy. I've also heard these statistics that it's like between 5 and 10% of our activity is governed by our conscious mind, and the overwhelming majority is unconscious, which is it's crazy to think, because we all think that, I think, therefore I am, therefore I'm in control of what I'm doing. But actually, that's not the case, is it? So let's I think for anybody out there who, we've all heard of hypnotism, but I think there's a lot of misinformation out there around it is, or misunderstanding of what it is. So can you explain to everybody out there what that is? What is hypnotism at its core?
Right. Well, it's basically, it can be a lot of things. Really, it can be a lot of things. Honestly, if you're watching a movie and you're really engaged in it, you're being hypnotized. This is like where you suspend in art terms, we call it, or what do they call it? Suspending your belief or suspending reality. There's a specific term for it, but it's like when you're able to watch a movie and you're really engaged, you're not thinking, oh, these are actors and they're on a set and they're doing this or that. You're like in the story. And so things are happening and you're believing it. And especially if some loud noise, the monster comes out of nowhere and you scream or you jump, you just got hypnotized because you let your logical mind, the part that says this is real, this is not, that took a rest, and then you let it access the subconscious mind, which completely believes that anything is possible.
Yeah. Okay. It's fascinating, because I think that people think that hypnotism or being hypnotized is only that experience where somebody makes, a hypnotist makes you fall asleep, and that's hypnotism.
Yeah.
But to realize that this is happening in all sorts of situations. I also heard that this is the case when we're driving, for example. If anybody out there listening has had the experience where they just they've been driving for a while and then they realize they haven't been paying attention to what's happened, and all of a sudden it's 20 minutes down the road and they can't remember the journey that they've just been on. But that's also an example of hypnotism, right? It's there's a word for it as well. It's like road hypnotism or driving hypnotism or something.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know what the term for that is, but absolutely. And then there is like more other, let's say, levels of hypnotism as well, where I could make you fall asleep if you wanted to go to sleep. I could, there's all kinds of things that you could be able to do with hypnosis. And sometimes that does look like you close your eyes and you kind of get into a meditative state. And that's honestly really fun for me to do with my clients, because a lot of the times we interact a lot too. So they respond and talk to me. So I have, full grown adults who are like, there's a tiny little soldier grabbing my neck. And what is the tiny soldier doing? And we're going back and forth about this, just like such random things can happen. And you can have trippy experiences. I love to work with people who even maybe did drugs in the past, for example, and then we can bring them back to like what they saw when they were on LSD or something like that. And so you can have really trippy experiences, substance free, of course. But then there's also subtle things that our subconscious mind picks up on as we're talking. So, like if I'm coaching somebody and I want them to really cement something into their mind, I'm gonna like nod at them and be like, and the reason this is working, and then just that subtle like I'm nodding my head and I'm kind of smiling at you and I'm looking confident, and then you're mirroring it, and that's entering into your subconscious mind because your subconscious mind is seeing cues of affirmation and confirmation, and so there's all kinds of different ways that you can get hypnotized.
It's okay. Yeah. And so I think what would also be useful is perhaps there are a few people out there that don't really understand this term, like what is the subconscious mind? So
Yeah.
from your understanding and experience, what is the subconscious mind really?
I mean, it's a great question. I think nobody really has exactly an answer to it. That's like people have for a long time been trying to figure that out. But the way it makes sense in my mind is it's basically the the part of your mind. It's like the part of your mind that holds all the information that we can't hold with our conscious memory. So,
Okay.
for example, riding a bike. We do not get on a bike and think, now I have to put one foot on a pedal, and now I have to push the pedal, and then I have to balance my weight a little bit so I don't fall over. Like, we're not thinking about that, but it's
Right.
in there.
It's
It's up
there.
there.
Yeah.
So that's our subconscious mind. It's operating the pattern. It's like at one point we used our conscious mind to teach the subconscious mind, right? Where our parent or somebody was holding the back of the bicycle and they were like, no, tilt this way or whatever they were saying. And then that made a pattern in our subconscious mind because our brain basically is just firing neurons all the time. It's like you feel an emotion, you're firing neurons. You make a movement, you're firing neurons. Everything happens in the brain. But you can teach the brain different things. So it's like one example is, let's say you've got a car and you're driving along the road and this car just keeps going down the same route every time. And then it's like, okay, at some point, if you want to make some kind of change, let's talk about the subconscious mind in terms of you want to learn how to do something new, you want to make a new habit, you want to feel something different. Anytime you want the neurons to fire in a different pattern, you've got to put up like a blocker and then redirect the car to go in a different direction.
Right. Otherwise, it's just going to keep going down that track, the same
Yes.
route that it's
Yes.
been doing. I think that's
Yeah.
so like useful for anybody out there who's, you know, either they have a habit that they want to break, or they have a new habit that they want to form. To understand, like if you're struggling to build a new habit, to understand the way that your mind works, to understand the subconscious mind. It's not because it's not the conscious mind that we're. It's not your habits don't live in the conscious mind, they live in the subconscious. To understand that, and so you can start getting these tools to help break those old habits and help form those new habits as quickly and as easily as possible.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. And that's why hypnosis works so well because because those neurons that are firing, they're strong. Like anybody who's probably listening to this podcast is familiar with like your childhood and how it affects you as an adult, and if you're an entrepreneur and you've gotten into personal development, you know how your beliefs affect your decisions and your actions and all of this. That can start really early on. So it can get pretty cemented in there. And then we constantly reconfirm these things to ourselves all the time. It's like, I have an example where I used to always think I was so unlucky. And it was like this joke, even in my family. I would tell these stories, and my brothers and sisters were like, how do all these unlucky things always happen to you? And so I was just like listening to this feedback from other people and myself and reconfirming to myself, I'm so unlucky. I'm so unlucky. I'm so unlucky. And it's like, uh, of course, then all the unlucky things are happening to me because I'm like anticipating them. Like my subconscious mind is like, yes, this is true. We love this, even though my conscious mind doesn't like it.
Right.
So,
Yeah. You're looking for
yeah,
those unfortunate events. You're tuned in to things that are unlucky and not tuned into things that would be lucky for you.
right, exactly. Yeah. So then hypnosis helps because you can break down the walls of that conscious mind. So when I got really into hypnotism, I had also, I was starting a business. I started to get into personal development. I started to get into therapy. I'd been seeing a therapist for like 2 years. And I remember at some point we hit kind of a wall where it was like, okay, we processed a bunch of things and I learned a lot of stuff. And then at some point there were changes that I wanted to make and things I wanted to understand that just weren't working in therapy. It's like we were saying the same thing over and over and over again. And then I found um actually a shaman. That's why I say there are different kinds of hypnotism, because this lady is a shaman and she takes people into these journeys. And um it really struck me because I did some, 10, 15-minute hypnosis with this shaman. And I remember my therapist had like asked me this question over and over and over again. Like, I think it was something like, so what do you really want from your life? It's just like, I don't know. And then I did this hypnosis with this shaman, and the question was like, what do you want? And there was some imagery involved, there was like this stone table, and I walked up to the stone table and I was looking at what was in front of it. And then she asked, and what do you want? And like this answer just came to me. And I was like, I just got the answer in 15 minutes, what I just spent like 10 sessions with my therapist trying to figure out.
Yeah. So you're going direct to the source as opposed to trying to find the solution through the through the conscious mind. I think that's
Yeah.
also so interesting, isn't it? That the conscious mind acts almost as like a gatekeeper to the subconscious.
Yeah.
It's what typically uh, admits or keeps out thoughts and different things. So if you're trying to access the subconscious mind or change your behaviors, if you're constantly trying to go through your consciousness and it's going, no, you're not allowed here, go away. And
Yeah.
so hypnotism or, the experience that you had with the shaman was like getting the conscious mind out of the way so that you could speak directly to the actual part of your mind that is determining your reality, 90% or 95% of your behaviors, which is the subconscious mind. Yeah.
Right. I mean, imagine if you can suspend your conscious mind enough to watch a movie and believe that it's happening. I mean, to an extent, obviously we don't think that like it's really happening. But like
But you're
in that
immersed in
moment
it.
you believe it's happening. Then imagine if you can suspend your conscious mind enough to believe that you can make more money, or you can be successful in business, or you can be confident, or you can be creative, be an artist. Like the potential is limitless.
I mean, it really is. I think that's something. It's so funny that we don't really get taught this. Like nobody really gets told that the way that you are, your identity, your beliefs, your patterns of behavior, your limitations, your ability to earn money, whatever it might be, is predicated on the the programming of your subconscious mind. It's not based on reality. There is no real thing as reality. Reality is what we see it to be, and what we see is determined on based on our subconscious. And it's so fascinating that we don't learn this. We just think, oh, I'm just bad at math, or uh, I'm just not somebody who can earn a lot of money. And then you realize actually that the that it's just a belief. It's a filter, and then you're confirming that belief.
Yeah, so many things that just happen on a moment by moment or hour by hour basis throughout the day can make such a big difference with this. So it's like once I really got trained in hypnosis and I started to realize the ways that I started to recognize when I'm just following a pattern, when my brain is just following a pattern. So I can use it in anything. Like I can use it with creativity. I was talking to you before this, we started recording about writing my book,
Yeah.
where it's like, oh, sometimes I think that I need to be in a special, inspired mood to be able to write my book. Well, it's like, I can actually change from not being in an inspired mood to being in an inspired mood just by changing the pattern.
Right.
So it's like, once I learn how to do that, oh, then I can write my book. Or like I use it with dating a lot too, where it's like you can tend to overthink things and be like, oh, well, why did they say this? Or do they like me? Or these kinds of things. And it's like, then you just realize, oh no, I'm just repeating a pattern. And I can literally stop thinking about this and go think about something else that I want to think about more. And so um this is like I've tried so many different kinds of modalities in terms of like, let's say healing and personal development and coaching and all this kind of stuff. And this is by far my favorite one because it doesn't always require you to have to go into this deep, dark place and process and analyze and journal and talk and all this. It's like you can just be like, I'm going to change the pattern
Mm.
and get on with my day.
Right. It's kind of like, it's just a much more direct approach. It's like solution oriented as opposed to having to find the source of the problem before you can
Right.
even think about providing a solution.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's so true.
Yeah.
I love what you said there is about becoming aware of it, like being aware of the patterns, and to recognize. And this is why I think, everybody, especially people out there who are wanting to achieve great things and are struggling, should really learn at least something about hypnosis, or at least about the subconscious mind, because when you understand that so many of your limitations are just patterns and that those patterns
Yeah.
can be changed, you've learned the pattern. The pattern can be unlearned and a new pattern can be learned. And
Right.
when you understand that, it's like, oh my God, I'm practically unlimitless. I can actually change the fabric of me by changing those neural pathways, those patterns of thought. But it starts with that awareness, right? It's being able to recognize the patterns and be like, oh, hang on a minute, this is
Yeah,
this
just look at
this.
this as a scientific fact. Like literally some cells are just firing and that's
Mm,
it. And you're like having an existential crisis and there's just cells firing.
yeah, yeah, it's so true. It's like, I love, you know, I love learning about these things from different perspectives. And spirituality teaches essentially the same. They're talking about the same thing, but from a different perspective, and thinking about the awareness, or I've lost my train of thought now. See, this is how things go. Um, just kidding, right?
You were saying like spirituality and how they kind of look at this from the same lens, but in a different way.
Yeah, around being aware, for example. Awareness is one of these the sort of practice in spirituality, meditation. But what they're getting at is being aware that, for example, the suffering that you're experiencing, and this was the point that I was wanting to get at, all of the suffering that you're experiencing is happening in your mind. It's like you were saying, it's neurons firing.
Yeah.
It's you're not the suffering isn't out there somewhere and being forced upon you. It's that you're interpreting the world in a way that causes you to suffer. You are causing
Right.
you to suffer. And when you can understand that, then you can start to do something about it. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
fascinating. So I want to make this this episode as practical and as useful as possible to people out there who, for example, are building businesses or wanting to do something new. And when we're trying to do something new, that means we're trying to break out of existing patterns. are there some tools that people can use, even if they don't, they don't go to a hypnotist or they don't have an in-depth understanding of the subconscious mind? Are there tools that, or practices that people can use at home to start to rewire or access the subconscious mind?
Yeah, there's all kinds of handy dandy little tricks that you can do. And I always teach them to like my clients and all my friends too. Um, Basically there's like ways that you can change the way your brain is visualizing whatever situation. So let's say as a business owner, you really want to get more consistent with creating content, but you just keep not doing it. And it feels overwhelming and it feels like this big task. And it's like, I don't know what to say. And you get in your own way when it comes to creating content. Pretty common
Yeah,
example.
definitely.
So one of the things that that I like to do is, and I can even maybe is this something that you struggle with sometimes, or is there something more relevant that you struggle with? We can do this exercise.
Oh, okay, yeah. I would say I don't have a challenge with coming up with what to say in content. I think I have more. There's something other than that. I definitely struggle with s- starting to think about finding the problems and reasons why I can't do something, and talking myself out of taking action. So I think that's something that I'm really working to change. Is like, how do I don't know if it needs to be more specific than that, but how do I maintain faith in my ability to be able to achieve what I'm going after?
Hmm. Okay.
Or is there,
So okay. Okay.
does it need to be different, more
No,
specific?
this is good. I think we can do the one that I was thinking of specifically. So you kind of gestured here towards the thing that you're wanting to, I'm trying to make sure my hand is in the screen. The thing that you're wanting to make happen. So take a moment and just find where that place is in your brain. You kind of gestured, it's out here in
Yeah.
front of you. You can see the place where you want this thing to happen.
Yeah, I mean,
Do you?
it feels or appears far away, quite far away
Okay.
from me. Yeah.
Okay.
Feels
Okay.
like off in the distance.
Right. Yeah. And does it have any other defining features when you think about the place where this is far away? Is there a shape? Is there a color?
Could be quite hard to see. Um,
Okay. Okay. So maybe blurry, kind of hard to see, away in the distance.
I'm going to close for those who are just listening and not watching. I'm closing my eyes now so I can imagine it. So this is the sort of episode to tune in to the video version.
Right.
Um,
Okay. So
yeah.
then think about the the space in between where you are now, the place where you're overthinking the content or overthinking the action.
Uh-huh.
Can you get a picture of where that is in your mind? If you could give it a place, a location, where is this part of you that overthinks the taking action?
Hmm. Like, where it is in my head, or where it is sort of in my how I visualize my
How
internal
you visualize
world.
it. Just like you have the place that's kind of far away and it's a little bit difficult to see, that's where you want to be. Where is the place where you're getting stuck?
I mean, that feels a lot closer to me. That feels sort of
Okay.
across. I would say it feels across and just just in front of me.
Okay. Okay. And does it have a size? Is it big? Is it
Yeah, it feels quite big, like like a 7 foot wall or something.
okay? Okay. So then you've got this 7 foot wall. Now imagine that you could take the 7 foot wall and squish it down and make it really tiny. Can you picture it? Okay. And then take the tiny, tiny little wall that you squished down and throw it way out in the distance, like way far, 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 so you can't even see it and you've thrown it so far. Okay, it's out there.
Hmm.
All right. And now, let's see, what do we want to do with it now? Now, in its place, bring back the place where you want to be. So while the wall is way, 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 way out there, take the place where you want to be that's far away and bring it in and replace the other one.
Okay, I've got an image. It's not clear. I've got it. I've made it bigger. It's sort of in front of me now, but I can't really define it.
Okay, okay. So the brain makes all kinds of images, so it doesn't have to be clearly defined. So as it's just know that it's here. You've made it
Hmm.
bigger. You put it right in front of you. And notice how it feels when you think about taking the action now.
It feels
It's
more
like,
achievable. Feels like I can
yeah,
step in. Like it feels like I can step into it.
yeah.
Mm.
Imagine if you did step into it. Just step into it right now. Yeah. And then you're like smiling and you're ready to just do it. And it feels achievable. And you've stepped into it and it's right here and it's big and it's in front of you.
That's so interesting. It's I, just my entire emotion just changed. Like
Yeah.
I don't know how to describe that. I just like all of it. I was thinking about the thing way off in the distance, and I was kind of a bit down, and literally just thinking about it being right here and stepping into it. Just I
Yeah.
felt this flood of like positive emotion about it. Though.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Anybody watching the video is going to be able to see too because your whole body language changed. You looked so
Right.
happy.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
So, yeah, we can play with, again, it's the place where your brain is storing it.
Mm.
And so you can take the thing you don't want and you can play with the shape of it. So I've had people where they're like, "Oh, there's no like object in front of me. There's just like a big giant silhouette in front of me." It's like take the silhouette, make it smaller, and
Mm.
then you can move past it and go in and do your thing. And
That's-
play with the location, throwing it out way into the distance, switching it out with something else.
Yeah. That's, it's so, I can imagine that there's going to be listeners out there or watchers, certainly listeners who are probably thinking to themselves, that's bonkers. Like that can't be real. All I would say is like, try it out. Because
Yeah,
just, just that yeah, that just such a simple visualization exercise. Like I felt it in my body. It wasn't a conscious thing. I actually felt the way that like my emotional state change,
yeah,
which
yeah,
I suppose is the power in it, right? Because the emotions are what drive the action, and so
right.
get the emotions right, and you're going to take the action that then leads you towards that outcome that you have in mind.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Powerful stuff. Yeah, I mean, this is why I mean, I love the subconscious mind. I'm also in the process of becoming a hypnotist and also an NLP practitioner, which is the same
Awesome.
the same sort of world. They're all interconnected.
Yeah.
Have you seen with your clients? Is there a recurring challenge that you help them with that people might be able to relate to who are listening, who you could give some advice or insight into?
Yeah, which one to choose? There's a lot of common ones. And what I love to do is like people come to me for like they want to learn copywriting and they want to learn like marketing and a lot of the times it ends up like because I built like a whole business by myself as most of us do. And so it's like I'll help people figure out how to like grow that business and get the sustainable income through like a heavy focus on marketing. And it's like people come and they want to learn really good copywriting because they know that really good copywriting makes you more sales.
Right.
And so then they come to sessions, and then it's like, this is the classic curse of coaching, is that people come to the sessions and they're like, great, that was awesome. And then they come back the next week and they're like, oh yeah, I didn't do it.
Right.
So it's like, okay. And it used to be like, before I knew how to use hypnosis, it was like so frustrating because it was like, well, if they won't do the action, then I guess they just don't get the results.
Yeah.
But they can do the action. They just need to change a few things in their brain to be able to do it. So one of the things is like, so people don't want to create content. Let's say that's probably the biggest one, or they don't want to create content. And there's all kinds of reasons why. You can feel insecure about it. You can feel like you don't know what to say. You can, think that you're not a good marketer, all kinds of things. And so what we do is we just like change the perspective that you have on doing it. So a lot of the times, like, I start to ask people, okay, so, I work with a lot of coaches. Let's say you're a coach. And it's like, okay, so what kinds of things do you do with your clients? Why do they come and help you? And we just start to talk about it in a really casual way. And they're like, oh, well, somebody comes to me because they want to find their purpose in life. It's like, okay. So then I just start to ask them questions about it. Okay. Well, what's the first thing that have them do? Well, they have to start to realize what their goals are and what their values are. And okay, so what stands in the way of them getting in the goals and values? Cultural conditioning, And so we start to talk about it.
Uh-huh.
And as we're talking, they get more and more fired up, and they start to like talk about their little processes that they do or conversations they had with specific clients. And then I always say, okay, I'm really glad you just shared that. Now just write down everything you just told me, and that's your content that you can post.
Right.
And it's like, okay, we didn't specifically do a official hypnosis thing there, but they did see how all they have to do is start to think about the way they like to talk about something. And they just need to basically get themselves, what we've done is we've gotten themselves into a different mode when it comes to creating content. Now they're just talking, they're answering questions, they're comfortable, they're just spouting off, they're in the zone. And there you are, you're in the spot. So that's hypnosis, actually.
So that's, yeah, I suppose, so that's an example of sort of circumventing the conscious blocks that the blocks that your conscious mind would put in the way if you say, okay,
Yeah.
it's time to do content. And then your conscious mind goes, I'm not a content writer. I can't do this. I can't do this. And then
Yeah.
you're thinking about all of the things all the reasons why you can't do it and not about the content. And so if you redirect them to talking about their process, then they're not thinking about making the content. They're thinking about their process, and then therefore they're able to get to that place. That's a great way. Yeah. So shifting, you said shifting your state, or what was the term you used?
Yeah, shifting your emotional state.
Emotional state.
Yeah, because basically you just took, again, if we think about the image of the car that's driving along the same path and it just keeps hitting this bump in the road and can't get past it. Instead, we just said, oh, why don't you just take a different road? And they just get on the different road and they go sailing because there's no block there, and
Yeah.
they're free to go.
That's so useful to know. Yeah. Yeah. That's
Yeah.
beautiful. And so, okay. And so I also like that conceptualization of that hypnotism isn't necessarily just putting somebody into a trance in order to get them to do funny things.
Right.
It's it's very much, how to understand how your mind works, and then being able to get you from point A to B without bumping up against the same roadblocks that you do otherwise with your conscious mind.
Yeah. Yeah. A lot of it is distracting the brain. So when
Right.
somebody wants to quit smoking, I live in Serbia, which is like a huge smoking country. everywhere. So my friends are always asking me, "Oh, help me quit smoking." And they think I'm going to put them under, put them under a trance. And
Right.
then I'll just say, "Well, do you want a cigarette right now?" And they're like, "Yeah." And I'm like, "Okay, well, what would you rather be doing right now?" And they're like, "Oh, I would like to just walk and be feeling free and not thinking about it and just enjoying my friends." And I'm like, "Okay, so right now you're walking and you're being free and you're enjoying your friends and all this." And then I'm like, "So do you want a cigarette?" And they're like, "No."
Yeah, right. You're just taking them from focusing again on the problem to focusing on what they'd rather be focusing on.
Yeah. Yeah. So
I
you can distract your brain and move it.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's also so useful to know. I suppose that comes down to that understanding of the power of your mind is not in the power of your consciousness. Your conscious mind is kind of it's a bit stupid really when it comes down to it. You could be very
Yeah.
easily distracted, oh, squirrel, and and
Yeah,
you're off on
exactly.
a different direction. Um and yeah, and using that to your advantage, kind
Yeah.
of thing.
Yeah, that's a great point. I mean, the conscious mind is not a bad thing. If you get the two to blend together, it's like Carl Jung says, the bring the subconscious into the conscious. And yeah, obviously I don't know the exact quote, but it's like bring the subconscious into the conscious so that they're aligned and they're both going towards the same goal. Otherwise, whatever's in your subconscious will become conscious and you'll call it fate.
Yes, I know. Yeah, exactly, exactly. If you don't make, I think the quote's something like, if you don't make the unconscious conscious, you'll be ruled. You'll be ruled
Yeah,
by your unconscious, and you'll call it fate or something. I've also
right.
butchered the quote. Anyway,
That
people
was
can go
better.
out and look. Slightly less wordy,
We're
but not.
getting there.
But yeah, it's so true, and I think that's why I'm so passionate about the subject as well, because for years I just thought that the way I was and the things that I was doing and the things that were happening to me, I believe that things were happening to me, was just the way that life was. You
Yeah,
believe that, these things just happen, but it's not true when you start to understand and start to align your conscious mind with your subconscious, or your subconscious with your conscious. That's when you're able to then really direct your life and stop allowing things to happen to you and be in control and create your life, as opposed to just receive whatever is dished up to you. And
yeah,
it's just I think that, people are out there. Maybe you can speak on this as well. There's people that come to you, for example, and say, "Oh, I have a copywriting problem," that or a sales problem, and then you do some delving into what's actually going on, and you realize that yes, they need to do the sales copy, but actually, what's stopping them isn't the sales copy. It's what's going on in their own mind, and if they got that in
right.
line, yeah.
Yeah,
Have
they're
you?
just repeating habits.
Mm,
So just break the habit and you make a new one.
yeah, yeah. I think of it like a ship. If you're going in a direction, you know which direction you want to head in, but you've got a massive anchor dragging behind you. You're going to go really slow, and it's going to be a lot of effort. But if you just get rid of the anchor, you're going to, it's going to be smooth sailing. And accessing the subconscious with hypnotism is a great way of getting rid of that anchor and freeing yourself up, and then you have all of this energy to just move forward.
Yeah. And it can happen so fast too.
Mm,
That's like I had a little disagreement with a friend of mine recently who is a psychotherapist, and she treated somebody who wanted to deal with addiction, even though it's not her specialty. And she said, "Well, we had all these sessions about what's really going on and what he really wants when he wants to gamble and all these things." And she asked me my process, and I said, "Well, basically, we find the trigger, we find what's causing it, then we find out what they want to be doing instead, and we just make their brain do it." And she said, "But they have to understand why, and they have to know the root cause, and they have to know the problem." And I was like, "They don't have to, actually. They can, and that can be nice to know, but it's not necessary to make a change."
Yeah, yeah. I've been reading and watching some lectures by Richard Bandler, who uh,
Yeah.
is the co-creator of neuro-linguistic programming, which is essentially hypnotism. And he's a big critic of psychotherapists. He's like, you spend 10 years with a therapist figuring out what the root cause of the problem, and you're still no closer to actually getting the solution. And he's like,
Right.
I'll just come in and do it in 5 minutes. I'll fix the problem. Don't have to
Exactly.
investigate it.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember I had sessions with a therapist quite a while ago where I was just like procrastinating the gym and I couldn't get myself to the gym. And it was like she had this whole acronym, like, well, recognize, allow, investigate with kindness and like all this stuff. And it was like, this is not helping me get to the gym. And then once I learned hypnotism, I just like, it was like, very quickly, I was able to do a quick, session with another hypnotist. And now I can do it for myself because that's also the thing is like, you don't have to like come to me for hypnosis every time you want to get hypnotized. I'm going to teach you in our first session how to hypnotize yourself. Um, and then you can just repeat that to yourself whenever you need it. But yeah, 15 minutes and I'm at the gym.
Yeah, save yourself a whole lot of time and money
Yeah.
for the therapist. I'm curious, we obviously you're a copywriter and you help coaches and your clients write great copy. What's the intersection between copywriting and hypnosis? Are there ways that you combine that? For example, you know, is there certain ways of messaging and talking to an audience that aligns with being able to access their subconscious more than their conscious? Is there a way of sort of just in the way that we create ad copy, for example, circumventing the conscious mind to a degree?
Definitely. Yeah. There's subtle ways that you can do it with language, for example, where you can reach people's subconscious minds. So one example that I like to give is this and that.
Okay. Yep.
So um if we say again, we'll use the power of like association with location and all of that. So if we say this conversation we're having,
Right.
and then if I say that conversation, yeah, it
Uh,
creates a distance. So we can do that with copywriting, for example. I love to say, to talk about that problem that they've struggled with and this solution.
oh, that's interesting. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Can see already how useful that is.
Yeah. And there's little words like that you can use, like just. So, for example, don't say, uh, we'll just rewire your neural patterns because it's automatically like, okay, now the price is lower because that's all you're doing. You're just rewiring neural patterns. But
Right.
use it when you say it's just $50. And then you've just made the price go down in their mind.
Mm, okay. This is
So
really useful because I'll be launching an offer shortly where that's
yeah,
similar to what I'll be
yeah.
offering. It's
So
just $4,500.
exactly. Yeah. So there's ways you can use it in language. Ways that I love to use it with my clients who are learning to write copy is you can get you access your creativity in your subconscious mind too, and
Right.
your inspiration. So that's not something we talked about a whole lot in this conversation, but this is what really made my copywriting career take off because everything out there is the same, right? You've got these formulas you need to fill out, and you've got your market research, and you implement and all of this. And one time I decided to try hypnotizing myself because one of my, hobbies that I like to do is just get myself into a very trippy state and see lots of interesting things. And it's a lot of fun for me. And so I decided to try playing with like my client and her ideal clients. And so I brought myself into like a trance and I was just playing with an image of playing out like what she helps them with and what she does with her clients and um really like paying attention to the clients and I started to get uh really good insights.
Hmm.
So, for example, one client is she teaches business to estheticians. So you can say, what are common esthetician pain points when it comes to their business? Um, Getting booked out, making more money, getting the right kinds of clients, these kinds of things. But
Hmm.
then I went into this hypnosis and I had all this imagery coming at me and shapes and things like this. And I started to like widen my view of it. And so I started to think, well, really the problem that estheticians have is like they didn't go to college. So they deal with a lot of insecurity around that. They deal with a lot of people shaming them around that, saying they're going to be broke forever because they're just a esthetician or a hairdresser or whatever. And so then I started to bring that into the copy.
Hmm.
And of course, that's really true to the root of the cause of what holds people back. So then those emails performed really well. And my client had an amazing launch because the messaging was focused around this emotional root issue that the people were experiencing, where I
Wow.
wouldn't have gotten that from the market research because they weren't saying that in their interviews. That just happened when I widened my perspective and saw it in a different way.
Yeah, yeah, I can see how incredibly powerful and useful that would be.
Yeah.
Especially if you harness that ability, like you say, once you've learned the skill, you can apply it to the problems that you're facing, the problems that your clients are facing.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so useful. I'm already my mind's going, how can I use this? How can I use this?
Oh, yeah. I mean, you can use it for any kind of insight. So it's not
Yeah.
just habit change or not only habit change, those are a
Yeah,
big
yeah,
deal.
exactly.
They're not
Not only.
just, but it's also, yeah, you can just get all these insights into what do you want out of life? What's your next step in business? What's the next offer you should create? Who's your ideal client? I mean, really, you can tap into this resource for any question.
Yeah. Yeah, I think also that, that's what I've been learning over quite a while now, years, is just the power that we have in our conscious in our unconscious. You know, if you're out there and you're feeling limited and you feel like, oh, I'm not smart enough, or I'm not creative enough, or I'm, whatever limitations that you're putting on yourself, that they are self-imposed limitations, because
Mhm.
you're only accessing a very, very small amount of your potential and your capability, because you only have access to your conscious mind. And when you start to delve into and explore your subconscious, your unconscious, you realize that you're capable of so much more. And all that is required is for you to explore that part of you and to start to unlock that. And that's why I think, I love what you do, Mia, and why I'm so passionate and motivated to help people with the same sorts of challenges, because we all have these, every one of us have self-imposed limitations, these limiting beliefs. It's a word that gets thrown around so much, and
Yeah.
so I think it loses its value. But we all have these self-imposed limitations on what we think we're capable of and what we can do. But they are self-imposed. They're not reality. It's just the
Yeah.
reality that you live in.
Even if, and this is where people get stuck a lot, even if your parents told you this your whole growing up, even if your culture told you this your whole growing up, like at some point, you have to get out of this, like, again, like not to bash therapy, but sometimes in therapy, it's so much like, well, this isn't your fault. And everybody else did this to you and everybody else made you this way. And then you just keep repeating the cycle in your
Yeah.
brain. And at some point, you have to break it and decide that you're going to believe something else.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's where hypnotism and these sorts of techniques help, right? You change that belief, the underlying issue, the subconscious programming, and then all of a sudden everything else starts to change, because you've changed the foundation on which everything else is built. And that can sound
Yeah.
scary, except, it means that your life can get so much better, because the way your life is currently is only a reflection of your old programming. It's not the reflection of your new. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
And
It's like going back to the riding a bike example.
mm,
I remember when I was learning and I struggled and struggled, and I had to have my sister behind me, holding me and making sure I didn't fall. And then one time she just let go and didn't tell me she let go. And then I was just gone, and then she's like, "Hey, I'm back here. You did it." And it's like that's what we do in so many aspects of our life when we actually do start to shift things. It's like then all of a sudden everything stops being an overthinking, trying so hard kind of a thing. And it's more like it just happens.
yeah, yeah, that's I think that's the number one skill that people could learn is like to get out of their own way. Like get
Yeah.
there, like just get your own mind on your side instead of constantly being at odds with,
Yeah.
you're trying to do one thing, but then your old programming is trying to keep you in the same spot. And then you're constantly wasting all of this energy fighting yourself. It's like,
Right.
get out of your own fucking way, get your mind on your side so that so that you can take off and do amazing things. And it's possible. It's possible. I think that's one of the messages that I think we need to reiterate over and over and over again is to tell people it is possible. And it starts
Yeah.
with you. It starts with the belief.
Absolutely.
Oh, Mia, we better wrap this up. I mean, I'm having a ball, but we better wrap this up. Is there anything that we haven't talked about yet that you'd love to share with anybody out there listening or watching?
Great question. I mean, yeah, I feel like we've just been covering a lot of great topics here. Um, I think just like I think my final word of advice or recommendation would be start to clock yourself when you're just running the same patterns over again. And it's amazing how even just like, even using the tools that we have on this show, where we gave a few good ones, like even those can be really life changing. Even if you just learned like one easy way to self hypnotize yourself to change a pattern, you can really apply it to a lot of things. And then the other is like open up to all the possibilities that you have in your subconscious mind. Like realize all the things that it's capable of imagining and showing you and seeing and doing and um yeah, tap into that.
Brilliant. Yeah. Beautiful
I don't
message.
know. That's like what we've been saying the whole time, but maybe it's a summary. It's like two takeaways.
Yep. I think that's a beautiful way to end it. And for anybody who's interested in getting your help, whether it be with copywriting or with hypnosis, how can they get in touch with you?
Yeah, my Instagram is a great place. It's just Mia.Kercher. I also have some free things where people can join my email. I've got some copywriting resources, like subject lines you can use in your emails. I'm also coming out with an ebook that I'm making about overcoming fears to do courageous things. So yeah, if you just follow my Instagram, probably that's the best place to distribute you out to other places.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, well, I'll put a link to that in the description below for wherever you're listening and watching, our dear listeners out there. Brilliant. Well, thank you so much, Mia. I really appreciate you coming on and talking about this subject. It's like I said. I mean, maybe you haven't noticed, but I'm really excited about this
Oh
area of
yeah.
work, and yeah, I know that it's going to be really helpful for anybody out there who's listening and watching. So thanks
Yeah,
once
it's been a
again.
blast. Well, thank you.
My pleasure. All right. Well, thank you, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.